Good morning. Welcome to this Friday edition of Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, the fellowship. I am Pastor Mark Baze. All right, I've got a big announcement for you. Okay, first of all, and I'm gonna ramble for just a second to make sure some people get in, so you hear the word. All right, so looks like we have some people tuning in, and so really cool announcement. All right, at first you're gonna think, oh, but then you're gonna be excited. I'm not doing a show on Monday, all right? No Shields and Arrows on Monday, but there's a good reason why. Because, let's see here. If we go to YouTube, the good reason why, and they're actually live right now, all right? You probably just got done hearing them talking. I am going to be a guest on the Grace Life podcast with Joel Hayes, Pastor Joel, out of Florida, and that's going to be on Monday. So I'm going to be going live with them starting at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, okay? 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. They're going to run into, they're going to go to 11 Central, basically. And so I'm going to be the guest host on that, or at least a guest on the show. We'll be talking, chatting about all sorts of fun things. If you haven't heard of them, they're another great ministry that really is strong in the grace gospel. They hold to rightly dividing the Pauline mystery. And so we'll have a lot of fun discussing some of these interesting topics, and who knows where all this is going to go. But Pastor Joel, he called me yesterday, asked me if I'd be interested in coming on the show on Monday, and I said absolutely. So be ready for that. Exciting. That's going to be my first. It's going to be my first time being a guest on another show, except for Ask the Theologian, right? But this is the first one outside of that. So be ready. Go over there. It'll be 2 hours. All right, Monday morning from 9 Central to 11. And it'll be a lot of fun, okay? And I'm not going to be there in person. I'm just going to be going live from, it'll still look the same for me, but I'll be on that show as a guest. It'll be really, really exciting. So be ready. What you need to do is, probably just so you are able to do it, go over to Fellowship Bible Church Orlando. That is the YouTube page, all right? Fellowship Bible Church Orlando. Subscribe, all right, or at the very least, just pay attention, okay? Have it ready to go, and it'll be under their live stream, okay? And that'll be what we do, okay? It'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a really good time. Now, with that being said, Jesus 2024. There has been an interesting post I found on the Christian Post, and so I'll give them credit, I guess, for this story. Pastor Mark Driscoll. Mark Driscoll is known by a lot of people. He is how do I put it? He is he's very evangelical in a lot of ways. When it comes to theology, we're not going to agree on a lot of things. At the same time, he's kind of a more conservative, kind of guy in a lot of ways, I would say, at least more traditional. So he's not, absolutely not the worst, of things, but he has been the focus of a little bit of controversy. So there is a campaign-style sign near his church, okay? And I guess he's pastor in Scottsdale, Arizona. Yeah, Trinity Church in Scottsdale. I believe that's correct. No, he founded it, the Trinity Church in Scottsdale. Anyways, let's just move on. Yeah, no, it is Trinity Church. So near, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get my story straight here. I read the article and I thought I understood, and now I'm want to make sure I get it right here. But he is the pastor of he is the pastor of Trinity Church. Okay. He was also the co-founder of the Mars Hill Church in Washington. But anyways, let's get back to the focus of the story, okay? Really professional today. He has a sign out front of the property adjacent, right? You can see it right here. Jesus Christ 24. So it looks like an election sign. And the city of Arizona City asked him to take down the campaign sign, assuming that it's probably against their, maybe some policies regarding churches and being affiliated politically and whatnot. Driscoll's position is it's not political because Jesus isn't actually on the ballot. I would say that's probably the case, right? I don't even know if he's making that argument. But the truth is, that's where the big controversy is. Driscoll has up this sign. The city wants to take it down. You're being overtly political. He is saying, I'm not going to take it down. And, saying there's other problems as opposed to you worried about what kind of signs I have out front. The whole controversy itself, him putting up the sign and the city saying, oh, take it down, you don't need to have it up, that's not really the focus of what I'm wanting to get at here as I'm rambling my way to this. So here's what I want to talk about, though. Here's Driscoll's approach, all right? This was back in the spring. According to the article, Driscoll urged Christians to approach the 2024 presidential election with sobriety and said he found neither President Trump or Joe Biden nor Trump attractive candidates. Now, I have a little bit of sympathy for people who look at the Biden administration or Kamala Harris, obviously not liking what they have to present, and then looking at Trump and being frustrated with him. Now, most of the people that I find are frustrated with Trump not so much because of his conduct outside of his being a president and candidate and whatnot, but it's more of his failure to maybe keep some promises, like not completing the border, not overturning Obamacare, things like that. Or even him allowing Dr. Fauci to run the country during COVID. So I get it, having issues with him. Now, I've said time and time again, to refuse to vote for Trump is, I don't believe, the most advised move. I think that it'd be more shrewd to just realize that while you may not like everything, he by far is a much better option than what Biden or Kamala Harris is. But here's Driscoll's whole idea, right? He doesn't like either. I don't like Joe Biden. I don't like Trump. How should a Christian approach the 2024 election? Make every effort to maintain sobriety despite the difficulty. And the truth is, we're going to have two candidates, both of which are old. I don't get this. I've said this before. I don't care how old the president is. Can the president do the job? Kamala Harris is 59. They act like she's some young spring chicken, all right? She's nearly 60 years old. I mean, she's grandma status. And yet they want to act like she's young and hip and whatnot. It's so weird. But anyways, I don't care if they're old. I just care if they can do the job. I don't think Kamala Harris can do the job. She has not proven that she has the mental capacity to do it, all right? She may have been conniving and somewhat smart to scheme her way through law school and whatnot. But as far as her ability to carry out the requirements of the president, I haven't seen it. I ain't seen it. I think she just fell out of a coconut tree. Landed on her head. Now, with that being said, how should a Christian approach the 2024 election? Right? They're both old. We don't like the options. I would like somebody who is younger. They're both in the flesh. So we have a Democrat in the flesh and we have a Republican in the flesh. That's what he said. Yeah, great job. Yeah, Mark Driscoll, you're absolutely right. They're human beings. We're in the flesh. Yep, that's what we are. If you're filled with the Holy Spirit, your options stink, but welcome to America. That's an interesting statement. If you're filled with the Holy Spirit, your options stink. I mean, what would you consider a good option, Mark Driscoll? Like, who's your ideal candidate? Dr. Ben Carson, maybe? More of a principled guy. I don't know who else. What? Mike Pence? I mean, who do you want? Who do you want? So, all that to say, he doesn't like any of the options. So, he puts up a Jesus 2024 sign. What are my thoughts on that? And that is the heart of this entire topic. In my opinion, I think that if you went to the ballot box and you wrote in Jesus Christ as president, it is a waste of a vote. It's a waste of a vote. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Let's say the majority of Americans wrote in Jesus Christ on the ballots. Let's say that Jesus Christ won all 49 states except Minnesota. Because for whatever reason, you just can't do it. Jesus Christ is not going to be in the White House. He's not going to descend. He's not going to enter in through the front gates. And he's not going to set up his authority and his governance in the Oval Office. It's not going to happen. I get that you're trying to make a point. You think that neither candidate is righteous enough to be worthy of your vote because you are so righteous that your presidential candidate is not good enough, I guess. But what are you actually trying to accomplish by that? I get what you're trying to say. You are protesting who the candidates are, and I guess I get your protest. But do you really think that that's going to change anything? Do you think that the parties are going to drastically change? Because isn't the point of a protest to actually accomplish something? As I said, even if Jesus Christ was to win the 2024 election at the ballot box, he's not going to be the president. It doesn't actually accomplish anything. There is no actual effect in the world. So these Christians that want to say Jesus 2024, in my opinion, take it for what it's worth. You are basically saying that the flaws in the conservative camp, and there are many, many flaws, okay? That the flaws in the conservative camp are just as severe as the flaws of the progressive agenda. That really is what you're saying. You believe that the Republican position is so heinous, so indefensible, unsupportable, that you would rather try to make a statement than make your vote count. Let's just take the biggest, I don't know, let's use the biggest issues of both sides. And that's going to be kind of tough, but let's just try to work our way through this here. I'm just going to work off the top of my head. Let's pick on the Republicans first. What are some of the biggest flaws? I mean, the truth is Republicans today are just Democrats of 2010 in many ways. The Republican platform, I'm not talking about individuals. Obviously, there's some real pieces of work on the right side of the aisle in Congress. But some of their biggest issues, and you comment too, all right? Then you tell me, what are your biggest complaints about the Republican Party? Some major problems that they have. If I'm trying to think about their biggest issues, the problem is they all seem to pale in comparison to what the progressive ideology is. I'm going to go with this one first, probably surprising. I think the Republicans are too big government. And that's been kind of, to a degree, maybe, some that they've held a long time. Massively expanding the power of government. The Democrats do the same thing, but the Republicans do it as well. That's a major problem. All right? The Republican Party is not enough for is not enough pro individual states' rights. So that's a big issue that I see with them. The Republican Party has probably been too, and this is where I start getting into progressive stuff, because like I said, the Republican Party, their biggest problem is they're just the Democrats from a decade ago. They're too soft on the matter of marriage. They're not willing to defend it like they should. I think that's a major problem. They don't have any backbone on it. And then I think that the Republican Party, probably its biggest flaws are, I don't know, maybe I'm overlooking some things. You tell me, like I said, but I'm just trying to work off the top of my head. And I'm proving a point by struggling to work through this. Too big government, too soft on the issue of marriage. Maybe if I was to pick the next major thing, I guess spending. But that's kind of back to big government. Too much spending. They spend too much money. All right? Those are my three biggest complaints about the Republican Party. They fought for, Roe v. Wade to be abolished and it go back to the states. That's good. I mean, I believe abortion's a moral evil and it should not exist in our country, but they fought for it to go back to the states. They need to fight for the matter of marriage to go back to the states. So that's my big complaints, right? Now let's look at the Democrats. First of all, they like to kill babies, and a lot of them. That's a major one. Number one, big problem, all right? Number two, they fundamentally go against God's order of creation, denying marriage and men and women, just outright, okay? They fully support it. And then they hold to the seizure of property. The government can take whatever they want from you. Plain and simple. Take whatever they want. And so that's pretty straightforward. Did you see how easy it was for me to name the issues I have with progressive ideology? And I could have nitpicked probably the conservatives or Republicans a little bit more, but it was a whole lot easier to just rattle off exactly the things that frustrate me the most about the Democratic Party. And I know, you're probably thinking, wait, what about immigration? Well, if we send it back to the states, each state gets to secure its own border. Texas, would be able to secure its own border and handle things exactly as it wants. Oklahoma could do the same. If you're found in Oklahoma and you're not allowed to be there, we're taking you to the next place where we can send you. So the problems solve themselves when you shrink government down and get it back to the states, right? Are you really so just so distraught with the moral shortcomings of a presidential candidate that you're sitting there thinking, I cannot vote for that party. I can't vote for that party. President said, their candidate says mean things. He's been divorced. He's done this. He's done that. I just can't support him. I know this side over here likes to murder the babies and trans the kids and, allow the cartel to just come across our border killing people, and we let other nations, we let terrorists execute our own people. It's a tough decision. It's a tough decision. I just can't decide. Give me a break. Give me a break. I know it's frustrating. I understand, all right? But you don't live in a perfect world. You don't just get to choose whatever you want. You got to work with what you've got, okay? And so for all the Christians, churchgoers, Bible believers, whatever, that believe they are being morally superior, that they are being all the more righteous because they say, I am above voting for any of these. Jesus 24. Congratulations. All right, Arizona, Mark Driscoll, way to go. Be nice if Arizona would be red again, to where maybe we could put some Supreme Court justices on there, to where we could eventually maybe abolish this national disgrace that is redefining marriage. But oh no, we can't do that. We can't play the long game and just march forward to make some progress as we go. No, we're above it. I'm too righteous to vote for that man. Jesus 24. And now Arizona loses some votes, and it'll go blue. Great job. Great job. There is my assessment of that entire thing, okay? Regardless of I think you should be able to put whatever sign you want. And if your church has that, the different benefits and whatnot that prevent you from being political, then you need to, drop that like a bad habit and do what you want. But the reality on the ground is you've accomplished nothing. You're trying to make a statement. Jerry says this, your vote is not a Valentine. You aren't professing your love for the candidate. It's a chess move for what you would want to live in. Thank you. I'm going to write in Jerry's name. That's exactly right. That people have to understand that. Yes, I'm endorsing Trump for president. I'm endorsing him for president. Am I endorsing him to be the pattern for how we should live our lives? No. Am I endorsing him to be the deacon of my church? No. He's the guy that's on the ballot that has the best chance to win, all right? And he is in favor of some things that I can support. For example, he doesn't like the borders being wide open. He wants to change it. And granted, a lot of us want to be hard on him for not building the wall. Ken mentioned there was a lawsuit for every 50 miles of wall constructed. We have short memory, okay? We also have to remember that one reason why Obamacare didn't get overturned was because the swampy Republicans, the career politicians, were so mad that Trump, an outsider, came in and won. They were pouting the whole time. So we can whine and complain all we want, or we can get stuff done, all right? Whether you like it or not, Trump allowing Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to hop on and support him is making up ground. It's helping, all right? Some of us may not even like it that when it comes to even our theology, that there are some so down the line that say there's probably some people who refuse to listen to me because in the background of my sermons, when I'm preaching, there's a baptistry. There's a baptistry, and they don't like it. I'm not going to listen to a preacher who has a baptistry in his church. If you can just listen for a moment and realize that we are on the same side, by and large. We are on the exact same side, okay? We can divide ourselves up into little fractions and never make any headway, or you can listen to me for a second, consider what I'm trying to say. I'm not endorsing the necessity of baptism for salvation. All right? Listen to my sermons. Yep, Jerry says, Commander-in-Chief, not Pastor-in-Chief. I also like what Rick says. Making Jesus a third-party candidate is ridiculous. Writing his name in vain is vain blasphemy. Just saying. Yeah, I think that it's you're using Jesus to make a point. And if you're going to be talking about the Lord, you better be careful in how you do it. You better be careful in how you do it. I'm honestly not that surprised, Nancy. Nancy said, did you see Trump on Gutfield? He said only 16% of evangelicals vote, 16 or 19%. That doesn't entirely surprise me because so many evangelicals, for one, just people are lazy and they don't get out and vote. This election will be decided by which side gets out and votes. Now, with a major asterisk, assuming the election's fair. I don't know if anybody has that full confidence that this election is going to be fair. With that being said, if it's fair, hypothetically, there's no shenanigans. They won't shenan again in the 2024 election like they did in the 2020 election. Once again, if this goes off, we'll go over to YouTube. Or go over to Worshify. With that being said, it's going to be about to get out and vote. And evangelicals are just like a lot of people. They don't get out and vote. But you know what? A lot of evangelicals, too, believe they're too self-righteous to vote for a candidate. Work on what we can, all right? We got to work on what we can. So there's that whole matter considering Mark Driscoll. Now, let's go to the Daily Wire. They've been keeping us updated on a very interesting story, and I've been telling you to keep your eyes on it. We were going to see how this goes. So Ron DeSantis, you know, I'm a fan of Ron DeSantis. I like him. He was and is conducting a Florida investigation into the Trump assassination attempt. Guess what? Surprise, surprise. The feds are not cooperating with Florida's probe in assassination attempt. So DeSantis said in an interview Thursday night that the federal investigators are not cooperating with the state who are conducting their own investigation. Time and again, the federal government shows that they have nothing but disdain for the individual states. The federal government has overstepped its bounds so much. And the federal government, the bureaucracy, hates the idea that the state has individual rights. And you can go back to some interesting times in history, some very controversial times in history, and you'll actually realize when some of this stuff went awry. And it's stuff that you won't get in your public school education history books in many cases. I never got it in mine. Wasn't until I got out in the real world and had conversations with my dad and whatnot and learned some things. The federal government despises the states. Despises them. And so DeSantis, one of the few politicians who understands the importance of states' rights, he really does, is battling it out with them. DeSantis said, when asked about the matter, I'm concerned. For example, we were rebuffed, our investigators were rebuffed, just going to the fence line outside of the Trump International Golf Club. The Biden and Harris administration, they don't want anything to do with the state of Florida investigating, and they're not going to cooperate. Why should we have any confidence in them? As a matter of fact, DeSantis said he does not believe that the public does have any confidence in the investigation. And that's part of the reason why he wanted to do their own investigation as the state of Florida. They have no right. The federal government has no right to be dismayed, distraught, or angry that we don't trust them, because they've proven again and again and again that they do not communicate honestly and openly. They don't. They don't. Let me see. Let me look at something. In just a few days, today's the 20th, October 1st, is going to be the anniversary of the Mandalay Bay shooting in Las Vegas. Remember that one that nobody talks about? Like more people killed in that one than almost any single shooting in modern history. Somehow a man gets up to the top of Mandalay Bay, nearly to the top, without anybody realizing all the ammunition, all the guns, firing down on a crowd, which really sounds like automatic fire, even though they claimed it was just a bump stock. I've seen people shoot with bump stocks. I am not convinced that the story we got is anything close to accurate. We still know nothing. Nothing about that man. It was covered up. All they did was report on gun control. Trump was pressured to sign a bump stock ban, and he incorrectly went through with it. It's since been overturned, but he incorrectly went through with it. Nothing. We know this much. This much. The federal government has proven itself untrustworthy again and again, so they have no right to demand of us that we have any trust, put any stock in what they say, in what they tell us. Plain and simple. I hope that DeSantis continues to battle it out, stand his ground, and that Florida is able to do an investigation. And the agencies are all the more proving themselves to be useless, incompetent, biased, and it's truly a joke. Truly a joke. So good on DeSantis. One reason why I would love to have seen him be president. I know that some of y'all weren't maybe as big on him, but I really liked him. Maybe we'll see him again. A DeSantis Ramaswamy ticket in 2028 would just be excellent, I think. All right, now, moving on to another matter. Apparently, if you've been reading the news, terrorist pockets have been blowing up. In Lebanon, I believe, is where we're at, or at least referring to the most recent attacks. But Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed terrorist organization, they have spontaneously been having their pagers exploding and radios exploding. It would seem to be that the Israelis, they've been carrying out this operation. They've created a pager company and radio company, whatnot, rigging explosives to where the batteries get hot enough that they'll explode, and they've killed a number of these terrorists and wounded many more. And now, sadly, there have been some civilians killed as well. There was from what we're hearing, there was a young girl that was killed. So what do we make of all this? What do we make of all this? Is this a brilliant move? Is this a brilliant act of spying type work and sabotage, or is it an immoral action? I've said it before. The Israel that is currently in existence as the nation of Israel, I do not believe is the biblical Israel. We do not live in an age in which God is dealing with the nation of Israel as an actual nation fulfilling the prophecies. Therefore, we do not have a theological obligation to support them or a commandment from God to always back Israel. With that being said, Israel is an ally. They are democratic in their government. They are our biggest ally in the Middle East. So we can just look at this for what it is. People have been really quick to denounce Israel for this, especially on the left. How terrible it is that they've done this. They are this. This is an act of terrorism itself. There was innocent people killed in the crossfire. On and on and on it goes. We aren't entirely. We just don't look at it the same way. We are so disconnected from what they're facing, or at least the reality of what the world is like. Israel faces random bombings and rocket attacks all the time. October 7th, still not quite a year ago. They did a very targeted attack. Some very specific people. Yes, there were civilian casualties. War has civilian casualties. We have let, in America, young girls be brutally assaulted and die, killed by illegals. We refuse to do anything about it because not every immigrant is a bad actor. Not every person who has come here undocumented, right, illegally, is a threat. So therefore, we continue to let our own people die. I think that Western civilization, the United States, does not have the stomach to handle these matters anymore. They are much more comfortable with letting our own people die than trying to put a stop to it and potentially leading to some unintended casualties, some collateral damage. And I'm not downplaying the death of people, but the world is a very ugly place at times. Do we really believe in the course of all of our wars, justified as many of them were, that an innocent person was never harmed in the process? The picture of the Revolutionary War, in which you had the redcoats and the colonial army squaring off in a pasture, right, in a field, and they were in their ranks, and there was no innocent people around to be harmed. Granted, there was a time which, military was maybe a little bit more careful than that in organized professional armies, but war has always been terrible. You can go back into the Old Testament and you can see how terrible it was. We have been living in a bubble for far too long. And the truth is, the bubble is not a bubble of security. It's overall national peace. Not that you are safe, though. You're increasingly not safe, no matter where you live. Because so many people have come across the border, and we have no idea who all these people are. Every state is a border state. Every town is a border town. We are blindfolded to the reality around us. And if we are not willing to take off the blindfold and realize that the world can be a very ugly place, and you've got to be willing to prevent the threats, despite the fact that somebody may get hurt, it's just big boy talk. That's all it is. It's just being honest about the situation. Israel has a right to defend itself. They are targeting terrorists backed by Iran, who has gotten a lot of money from the Biden and Harris administration. They're fighting back. And so many people, both on the left and right, who are critical of Israel, if cartels went across the border and killed over 1,000 of us, of American citizens, I think they would be crying for blood. And they would not be deterred by the possibility of any collateral damage. We do not live in a utopia. We live in a real world. I'm not saying that you should just be looking for a fight all the time. But you also have to realize if you don't stand up to the threats, they'll only grow. And then one day you'll find that you don't have the ability to stand up against it at all. And you can't stop it. It's harsh reality you have to face. So that's my thoughts on that. How can you be much more targeted than that? They're holding their own little bombs, right? It's not like you're doing a carpet bombing of a city. And as a matter of fact, these bombs are so inert in some ways that it's not even killing them. Most of them didn't even die. Now, it may be, well, I think the Babylon Bee said something like the IDF circumcised something like, 4,000 Muslim terrorists. Maybe a little bit more than that. Not just in the number, but also to the degree of the circumcision. We can live in willful ignorance, or we can see the reality for what it is. All right. With that, this is you know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do our own little addition here. Okay. Here's what I want to do. I know we got people listening. Not everybody comments all the time. This is talking about defending the faith, the family, and the fellowship. When I run out of stuff to talk about, which is at this point right now. All right, I've said everything I want to say. This is Fellowship Friday, or I could answer a question if you have one. But now, this is your opportunity. I know that there's a delay, so I'm going to talk for a minute because here in probably about, 10, 15 more seconds, you're going to start processing what I'm saying. But let's chat. This is Fellowship Friday. We're going to say hi to each other. We're going to talk about whatever you want. Kind of feel like, consider it the behind the scenes exclusive time now. We're not just talking about whatever I want to talk about. We can talk about what you want to talk about. Here's your opportunity, okay? So, start sending your comments. I'll be reading a few as they go on here. Ken says he thought it was just a picture of the Jordan River. Well, it's both. It's baptistry and a picture, so now Ken is no longer going to be listening to our ministry. What a shame. Okay. I am being patient. I'm going to be waiting for your comments as I am just kind of looking around here. What are your predictions for the election? I know, it's on everybody's mind. Oh yeah, what about my sister, Rick? Yeah, she's good. Her and the baby are good. He was born, yes, 2 days ago, on Wednesday. Healthy baby boy. So doing great. Yeah, thank you for remembering, Rick. Mom and the baby are both healthy and just working on trying to recover and get some rest right now. Rick from North Carolina. I haven't seen Alan in a while. That's what messed me up, because you're Rick Allen, but then we have an Alan who's from Oregon. Y'all are being very chatty. Come on now. Not everybody all at once, okay? I can't get to all of these comments at one time. Or are you just trying to think of the perfect topic that you want to discuss, right? What is the thing that you are just itching to hear me rant about? I mean, if you want to let me off work early, I guess you can. What is the topic for Sunday? Sunday. Dr. Campbell is in the house. So, we have, if you are trying to get caught up, let's see here. On Sunday, last Sunday, we started the first of what is probably just going to be a 3-part series called Onward Christian Soldiers, Our Churches Are Weak. What is part 2 going to be? It is going to be, and I haven't, the title is still in the works, okay? I know sometimes y'all think that I have these planned out weeks and months in advance. The title is going to be something regarding the men. The men must step up and lead. Our churches have been emasculated in many ways, and we are weak because we have not had strong leaders. So that's going to be the focus, okay? It's going to be a lot about the men, but also ladies. We'll chat about you as well, okay? Kind of all plays in together. So hopefully you're excited, looking forward to that. Nancy asks, what is your topic with Joel on Monday? I know that he's going to want me to kind of give an introduction to myself, so some of it, you're going to think, I've heard all this before. How I came to rightly dividing and what I'm doing now, but also then after I get done introducing myself, we're going to go just anywhere. People ask questions, and I'll just be right there with Joel responding. Tim, bringing in the deep questions here. Let's look at it. Mark, do you think the gospel of judgment and Revelation 14 goes back to the same gospel that Enoch would have been proclaiming before the flood? Okay. Let's go ahead and open up Biblify here. And go to Revelation 14. Trying to find the verse. If you have the verse specific you really want me to address, let me know. I saw another angel, I guess maybe verse 6 is what you're kind of getting at, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment is come, and worship Him that made heaven, and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. So, there's that everlasting gospel, fear God, give glory to Him. Now, let me go and find Enoch. So let's go to Jude chapter 1. I think it's the only chapter in Jude. All right, here it is. Raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame, wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Wandering stars could be the fallen angels. Verse 14, and Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of their ungodly deeds, which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Now, what is the timeline of Enoch and Noah? Enoch and Noah were not contemporaries. Enoch died shortly before Noah. I'm getting that from the internet, but you can do the math. All that is quite straightforward. Enoch was preaching, warning, prophesying that the Lord would come with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all. Is that the same gospel, the everlasting gospel, presented in Revelation? Tim? I think you could be right. I'm going to say I think that there's a really good case to make for that. I don't see why not. The everlasting gospel, I mean, it would be one that would last for, I mean, be everlasting. So I think I'm on board with you on that one. I could maybe do some more research, but no, I like your analysis on that. Rick says, remember my problem with my church? I took the advice of many of you and left, not with a whimper, but a boom. Rick, I'm proud of you, okay? I'm proud. I know that it's tough to lead your church or to leave it. You build up bonds and you get connected, you get tied to it. You get connected to the building and the being a part of your life. I know that's hard, but Rick, everything that you told us about your church, as much as I hate to say it, you did what you had to do. I don't think there was any other option. The way that things were being run, handled by the pastor, and the way that the congregation just went along with it, Rick, I think you did exactly what you needed to. I'm proud of you for having the courage to do that. And not to just go out with a whimper, but to go out with a boom. Tell them like it is. Rick, good job. I really am proud of you. We have Mike Moriarty. Excited about having you this coming Monday on the Grace Life podcast. I am excited too. Good morning to all the bad, blessed, and delivered saints online. Be confrontational and not confrontational. Yeah, I think that's good advice right there. I think you'd make a lot more progress having an approach of that. Dr. Campbell says, are you planning to address the qualifications a man needs in order to be a deacon in your message on Sunday? Can he have been divorced, etc.? I wasn't necessarily planning on going the route of talking about the different positions. I was going to speak to men more generally. I don't know if I'm going to touch on that on Sunday, but it's a topic though that we could tackle though. It's a great question. I'll think about it, okay? I wasn't planning on it originally. We'll work on it. We'll think about it. Tim says, thanks, Mark. It's curious the Bible could open with that gospel and then close with it. Just a thought. It certainly sounds the same to me. If you compare them side by side, the everlasting gospel, fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment has come. And then Enoch, behold, the Lord cometh to execute judgment upon all. And so I think that's a really strong case to make. I need to probably do a verse by verse through Jude. That may be the next one. It'd be an interesting one to do. All right. It's funny that you asked me about that, Dr. Campbell, because I had somebody call me yesterday and asked me that very same question. Not that if I was going to preach on it on Sunday, but just that matter of deacons and divorce and husband of one wife. What do we do with that? And I could go down the rabbit hole now. In short, I'm going to tell you this. And I can just even pull up the Greek. And I'm just going to use the Greek to make my point. Verse 12. Let the deacons be the husbands of one wife. Let the deacons be the husbands of one wife. If we pull up the Greek and just try to maybe investigate, oh, come on now. Let me use my evangelical software. There's a few bugs sometimes with Biblify, and it will cause that to happen. If we go to 1 Timothy chapter 3, and we go down to let the deacons be husbands of one wife. So, here's what that word means. One. It means one. If you just look at the meaning of that word, right? It's a number. The number is one. A certain, a single indefinite person. The challenge in the Greek is, as far as what the Greek actually says, it says one. That is specific and also vague, because it says that he's married, must be the husband of one wife. Well, how do we interpret that? I would not know anybody who said, well, I say that. I think very, very few would say that the deacon could not remarry if his wife died. If his wife passed away and then he remarried, I don't know of anybody that would say that is him being the husband of more than one wife. But in matters of divorce, what do we do with that? The wife is still living, or at least the first wife was still living. He remarries. Does he have another wife? Jesus said to divorce and remarry, right? Talking about that matter. Let me see here. When he spoke to that passage, of course, once again, where we got to consider, is that under the law, though? Let's find that matter. Here it is, Luke 16. This is Blue Letter Bible just because it has an easy word search tool. Whosoever putteth away his wife and marrieth another committeth adultery. And whosoever marrieth her that is put away from her husband committeth adultery. I mean, how do we handle that? Does it not say what it says? Putting away his wife, marries another. It's committed adultery. Who was Jesus talking to? Talking to those under the law. Are we going to adopt our position of marriage as one that is of the law? As far as the Greek itself, as testified in 1 Timothy, well, there's some room for arguing and interpretation. It comes down to, are we going to frame marriage within the law that the Jews were under? If so, well, it would seem that divorce and remarriage would be adultery. We're just going by what Scripture says. The question is it under the law, right? That's the big question. So it's one that we'll tackle eventually, certainly. Rick says, like Ken said, hitting the big time. Please don't leave us little people in the dust. Well, you know, just looking at these massive numbers that have joined right now, I'm pretty sure you can see how many have joined us. So I don't think if you're just looking at our numbers, I don't think you should be all that concerned about that. All right, well, that's about it. We're at an hour and 2 minutes. I need to get ready to go. I'll remind you, Monday we're not going to be doing Shields and Arrows because I'm going to be the guest on the Grace Life podcast. So be sure to go over there on Monday. Starts at 9 o'clock. It'll be a good time. And then Sunday we're going to be talking about how men need to step up and be leaders. All right? And the purpose of this show, Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I'm Pastor Mark Baze. Thank you for joining us as we tackle all sorts of topics. It can be culture, theology, politics, you name it. We're not afraid to address it because we want to stand for the truth of God's Word. We want to watch over those that we love and care for them as well. Thank you all for joining us here. We'll be back on Tuesday, and then we will see you later. Thank you all so much.